right. Matthew is here with Jon Gundry. That's me.
Episode 14 of the ThroBak Guitar Lounge Podcast. Welcome all.
Yes, we have combined years of decades of experience.
Noodling.
Fixing guitars, fixing mistakes maybe we made on guitars. Maybe learning from those things and culminating in wisdom that we can pass on to the viewing audience here on the ThroBak Guitar Lounge Podcast, episode 14. I'm Jon Gundry, Matthew Quail here. We're of the ThroBak manufacturer of wonderful pickups and pedals. And we'll run down the show here quickly. We're going to have a Guitargument. And this Guitargument, Matthew, what is a Guitargument?
A Guitargument is what is the difference between low output.
What is the real, which is better between? That's
what I think it should be. It should be, well, the way I'm going to argue what is better, high output P90's or low output P90's. And we'll discuss what makes the difference between the two.
And we're going to actually show this difference by a playing demonstration. And part of the new, always new and improved ThroBak Guitar Lounge podcast is we have set up an amp camera right here. We will play through this 1979. Matthew's hand is actually right there showing that this is a live action shot.
It's like Price is Right.
Of a 1979 Deluxe Reverb.
What would your bid be on that if that was on the Price is Right that came up?
That's right. You want to know what I paid for that? This is one of these things. So right now, if you looked at Guitar Center right now, that thing would probably be $1,600 to $1,800 probably.
$1,600 for it.
That's what I'm guessing they'd be asking.
To 79, you said?
I bought that a year ago from Guitar Center for less than $1,000 a year ago.
Wow.
So it wasn't like it wasn't like they were. They were generally cheaper on there. But the lesson is watch Guitar Center because they will sometimes misprice stuff.
That's true.
I mean, if you're looking for an amp like that or guitar, check their website all the time, and every once in a while they will slip up.
That's a good little early tip. They sometimes just mislabel things, and you'll find an orphan floating in the biosphere. That's why isn't this with all the other stuff? Because they've labeled it incorrectly, and
yeah.
Sometimes they don't realize that, and then it sticks around forever. They start dropping the price.
Yeah, so we're going to do after the Guitargument and the cool down, we're going to demonstrate a low output and high output P90 back to back, so we can actually have a real impression of what is the real difference between a low output and a high output P90. Of course, these will be ThroBak pickups, but of course we do make a variety of P90s, but P90 vintage P90 reproduction, we feel we are unmatched in those specs for good reason. If you watch this podcast, you will know why. But we'll demonstrate that in a couple of fine guitars we have here through that amp. And we've rearranged the show just a little bit here. We'll have ThroBak news. And we're resurrecting a segment that we did not before we did the podcast called Rorschach Riffs.
Well, we never ran it. I don't think we ever ran the segment.
I think we did one.
Really?
I think we did one episode where we did this. Now,
okay.
Matthew,
I'll take it back.
You explain Rorschach Riffs.
Okay, so the basic premise is that I will play a little snippet. I'm going to use a bass today. This can be on the guitar. Could be on any instrument.
Yes, this time you're going to use bass.
I'm going to use a bass. And so I'll play a little snippet of a well-known bass line. And I'm going to do 4, and they'll be in succession.
You'll do 4. You'll make a mashup of 4 different bass lines that will sound potentially like nonsense. And it is up to me and the viewing audience.
Yes, and the viewers at home.
To decipher what the signature licks are. but you will, I'm assuming, meld them together into one that may sound like chaos.
Well, I don't know, because this is the first time I've done it. I'll leave a little bit of space. It won't be okay. It won't be totally crazy.
Well, totally crazy is fine.
Okay.
So then there'll be the Guitargument, the cool down, as we said, Matthew's Musical Musings. We all know that. We do have the Tools and Tips segment, but we have bumped that to later in the show to make way for Matthew's Rorschach Riffs. All right. So let's get on, Matthew, to the ThroBak news. And this is a little bit of news that really happened here at ThroBak a little while, a few months ago. And
it was this year, though, wasn't it?
It was this year. Yeah. And we purchased, if you're at all familiar with ThroBak, we have a unmatched collection of vintage coil winding machines, some of which that we know were used for Gibson and Fender products in the golden era for those companies, and we have expanded that collection to include a very distinctive guitar. Matthew, can you explain what this guitar is?
Okay, so this was
the pickups for this distinctive guitar.
Okay, so this winder was used on the pickups to make the Dan Armstrong. Dan Armstrong, lucite guitars that were made in
like between 1967 and 1970. 70? Is it 70? It's a very small window that they were made.
Yeah, I think they were introduced in 69, but I think the early prototypes go back to 67, 68, and then I think they were introduced in 69, and I guess it didn't go too well. But Bill Wyman was famous for using a lucite bass with the Rolling Stones.
Keith Richards used one too.
One of the guitars.
Yep. He used one of the guitars. I think I've seen Joe Perry use it with Aerosmith. They have sort of a following, and we have the machine that Ampeg used to wind these things. And I will show a picture of that. It's a little machine. It is this machine right here. This was. I am periodically checking eBay.
How did you come about to get this? Then?
I'm periodically checking eBay and industrial surplus companies for these machines, and this is one of the machines that was popularly used for pickup winding. In fact, Fender Custom Shop still has one of these that they themselves say they purchased in 1959. This machine is from 1967, and it was on eBay, and the description on eBay, and I just ran across this, was that this was used by, was taken from Ampeg and used to wind these pickups that were designed by Bill Lawrence that ended up in these Dan Armstrong pickups. And so I asked the guy who had it listed what the story was of it. And this is what he emailed me back. Because the listing itself actually said 1967, circa 1967 Quail winder, and the description said that it had been used by Ampeg to wind pickups for the Dan Armstrong guitar. So I emailed the guy, and he said, "Congratulations on your winning bid. Vernon Cooper was my good friend and business partner in 1974. We started a design and manufacturing company located in Lower Manhattan. Vernon acquired the coil winder from the Linden, New Jersey plant during the Magnavox acquisition." So the Magnavox acquisition of Ampeg coincides to when these lucite guitars, Dan Armstrong guitars, stopped being made. Vernon Cooper was the former chief engineer at Ampeg and worked closely with Bill Hughes. Bill Hughes is the guy who, I think, the SVT designer. Vernon left shortly after Ampeg was sold to Magnavox. Congratulations on your winning bid. Vernon Cooper was my good friend and business partner from 1974 We started a design and manufacturing company. Lowercase. Well, he just repeats himself here. Okay, so that is the backstory of that machine. So now we don't have any plans to. We don't have any plans to make a pickup for those Lucite guitars, but it's one more cool detail that we've got here at ThroBak that fits in with our whole historic theme. I actually look for those machines specifically because they do have a history with Fender, and they're also very convenient. They're compact design machines, and you can the nice thing about them is you can auto traverse, but you can very easily override the auto traverse and hand wind with them without having to change the whole machine setup. It's a nice compact unit for that. So I'm always looking for those, and that is it's a Coeco CS machine, and that's probably the one, two. I've got 3 that are set up right now that we use, but I've got 2. That's probably 2 or 3. That's either the 5th or 6th one that I have on top of those. So, but that one has a direct lineage to those guitars, which is for us news, and anybody who's a ThroBak fan, maybe it's news for them too. So that is our ThroBak news, Matthew, and we will go on to
our new segment,
Rorschach Riffs here. Are you ready for this?
I think I am.
We've got a camera set up, Matthew, for this. You're going to get your bass. Can you tell us a little bit about your bass here while we do this?
Sure. Okay, so the bass is I know it was made in 1991. It's a G&L SB1. Let me grab it here.
Okay, well, switch the camera here, and that's not the right one. It's this one. So you're right there.
Can people see it there?
It's a purple bass with.
It's got let me see if we can get the headstock. It's got the newer headstock, which is, it has this little addition, this little flute in it. Is that what do we call it?
Volute.
Sorry.
I don't know. Yeah, but maybe that's a volute.
There's a Fender, I guess, made them put that in, that they didn't have that in the early guitars. It was just straight.
Okay, well, let's hook up your.
Let me grab a pick here.
Okay, now I'll unmute your bass. Let's see, play a little.
But I'll tell the folks the bass is dated from 1991.
So it's on. Good.
And that'll come in. That'll come in later in the show. There's a link later in the show, but just remember the bass was. Is there any? I don't know. Is there any sort of, before you do this? Is there any sort of? Is there anything guidance you can give us for like eras? Are these songs spread out over a wide era, or am I asking too much? Let me see. With this question, let me see what I'm imagining this is going to be harder than I think. So, but if I have, maybe these are questions for afterwards. I think all of this stuff would fall between the early 70s and so it's about a 10-12 year span between early 70s, early 80s. Okay, can you tell us how many songs will be in this Rorschach riff? There's 4. 4. Okay. And again, this is like a Rorschach test. It's a ink blot test, and you just smash all these notes together, but there's something within that has a deeper meaning. Yeah, you should be able to pick them out. All right, hang on. So I'm gonna get this out of my face. Okay. Ready? Rorschach riffs right now. Okay. Walking on the Moon. Can you do them in order? There you go. Pressure. Under Pressure. Under Pressure, last one. Okay. I think that's maybe
I've forgotten the first one. Okay, so I mean, don't confirm yet. The other audience may want to do this too. So okay, run it through again, because I find that I can hear it, and my brain is calculating the song.
No, I can't.
But
I can't guarantee this, but I can also play a B version, which adds a little bit more.
A beaver. Well, don't do that yet. Do your first one.
The A version is stripped down.
Okay.
The B version has a little bit more.
I feel like I've got two there, but we'll let me hear it again. I see. By the time you play 3 and 4, I have the processing power of my brain required to remember down. 1 and 2 is already taken up with the new ones. Okay. Let's hear it.
Ready? Hang on, this is biting on my arm.
Okay. I know one. Okay, no, I know 1. I think I know 3. I think I know 4.
Okay.
I want to know 2. Let's hear it again.
Want to hear it one more time?
Hear it one more time, and then maybe I'll ask for the expanded version after.
Do you just want to hear the whole thing together?
Yeah,
play everything.
Play everything. Don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
We won't cheat.
The second one I'm having a very hard time with. I can't get that. Okay, so do you have an expanded version that would give me more information on the second one? Okay,
no, I can't guarantee that, but I played this one so much. I said, I can just cut this down, and so I just pared it down a little bit.
I feel like I've got 1, 3, and 4, but I don't have 2.
Okay, here we go. Hang on.
Okay, you're confirming my you're confirming my 1 choice, my 3 choice, and my 4 choice, but I am stumped on 2.
You're stumped on 2? Oh my god!
I'm stumped on 2. Okay, so is it time for me to reveal what my choices are?
Sure, I think yeah.
Okay, 1 is Money.
Yeah.
By Pink Floyd.
Yep.
2, I don't know.
Wow, I find that surprising. You don't know that.
I don't know 2. 3 is Walking on the Moon by the Police.
Yep.
4 is Under Pressure by
Queen and David Bowie.
Yeah. And so I'm correct with the ones that I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I won't tell you, but I'll play it for you again.
Well, you can, okay. Can you add information about the band that might clue me into that? I'll ask some questions here. Is this a U.S. band?
No.
Is this a band from the 70s or 80s? Is this a hit in the 70s or 80s?
I think this is a hit in it's right on the cusp. It's either 79 or I think it's 79.
Is it an English band?
Yes, it is.
Is this a hard rock song?
I don't know.
Does it have a male singer?
Yeah. It's also famous. It has an iconic. The album from it has an iconic photograph of a guy with a precision bass.
Do
you want me to play shall I play the riff just by itself? I'll just play it just by itself. I won't play all the things together. I think you're the only one right now that doesn't know. I think everybody out there knows it.
You're probably right. Okay. Give me some more hints.
I'll give you more hints. This is pretty good. I'm enjoying this, actually.
I want to see if I can reveal it to myself what it is.
Okay, so the album cover is an iconic cover of a guy smashing a Fender Precision bass.
I'm still drawing.
Like it's like a super iconic picture.
Okay.
That picture was taken in New York City.
It's Sex Pistols or
no, you said
the Clash.
Yeah. And what was the name of the record?
Oh, I don't remember the name of the record.
The 2 album.
Is it London Calling?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, now I can hear it. I'm just like I don't like think of that song.
You think of it
in terms of a bass line.
No, you think the bass is pretty prominent, but you think of that
dun,
and then the bass comes in.
Yeah. I mean, it's a distinctive bass line. The associated. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully that was fun for the rest of the audience. I like that segment. I enjoyed it. I think we'll do. We're going to do it on the next show too. Yes.
Yeah. We'll do it. Okay. Yeah, I thought you would have gotten that like bang, bang, bang. I thought, this is gonna be too easy.
No, I no that one I didn't get. Okay.
Right. Should we turn that down?
Yeah, let's let me mute you there so we don't make any noise when you unhook your bass. Okay. Well, Matthew, good job with the with all of the mental gymnastics that must have been required to put those together.
That's funny.
All right, so that brings us to the Guitargument, and again, this Guitargument, Matthew, is what?
Well, I'm going to frame it into like, what are better, low output P90s or high output P90s?
Is the hot P90 the one you got to have? Is where all the tone and juice is, or is it the low output P90? This is actually we get this question frequently from people through emails and calls wanting to know which one to pick.
Mm-hmm.
And so okay, we're gonna argue this for 5 minutes, Matthew, and you're going to take the hot P90 is better. What's the real difference between these two? And you already have decided for yourself the real difference is that the hot one's better.
That's right.
And I will defend the lowly, low output P90. And we will start now. 5 minutes.
All right. So for me, I think the most iconic kind of guitar setup is a single Dogear P90 in the bridge position that's high output, that is basically everything you need in one little compartment. So you would you roll the volume back, it's going to clean up, but you don't need a stomp box. You just plug that thing in, and if you jack that thing up all the way, you turn your amp up, it'll just rip. So I think it's guys like is it Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day and things like that. So you just the kind of utilitarian kind of approach. So you just have
it's the pared down, stripped raw,
So I mean
raw tone,
it's got it'll just overdrive like crazy on its own.
It's a hammer.
But I've heard
there's no subtlety there.
It doesn't need to be. Chainsaw going through some pine, just
yeah. Okay.
So to me,
do you have more?
Well, to me, it's it is about the sort of just sheer volume and power and grit of that pickup.
It's got less to do with tone and it's got less to do with tone and more to do with volume.
Yeah, it's not about subtlety.
It's not about music. And by subtlety, you could say musicality, right? You'd be in the world of a guitar player. Maybe musicality translates to subtlety. So is this is the easy way to get? It's a shortcut to a heavy guitar sound without maybe it covers up some of the subtleties that might translate into poor guitar playing.
You think you just
you're muting the subtleties. So I've written down some notes here, Matthew, about the low output.
you get that sort of chunk. Everyone loves that chunk.
You get added clarity with a low output P90. Mm-hmm. You get subtlety in the dynamics that are otherwise sort of smeared and turned to mush with a higher output P90. You get the classic telly on steroids tone rather than the sort of mud machine distorted thing you get with a higher one.
I take umbrage at such a distasteful
so well, let's see what else
name calling of the high output.
Well, again, I've written down here less compressed, more responsive, and compression is sort of well, you could call compression a way of veiling the dynamics that you might, an unskilled player, those dynamics might not be exploited to their advantage and translate in a band setting to maybe not the most skilled playing. So if you can equalize that with more compression, is that the appeal? Is that why these are popular with punk bands and bands that just want to strum heavy, aggressive rock tones?
Possibly, sure.
They don't want to have intricate lead lines that complement the song.
They want to. They're trying to get a message of aggression with that pickup.
Instead of it's about the volume, and it's less about music and tone, or maybe the music is about volume, but it's less of a focus on tone and more of a focus on volume.
Well, because I've got a set of the high ones in a guitar, but they will clean up if you turn them back. But it's if you turn them up,
you have to defend this, Matthew. The Guitargument. I mean, I may not even believe my argument here, but it is incumbent upon you to aggressively, at all costs, defend your indefensible position of that the hot P90 is the P90 to have.
Well, I'm willing to die on that hill.
Okay.
I will go down.
All right. So we got one. This is perfect timing.
But
5 minutes are up.
But now we're going to do something.
I can stop that awful charade I was under.
But what's interesting now, we can introduce science to the Guitargument.
That's right. We have, and again, we will show the live shot here of the amp cam. That amp right there. This
is a live picture. You can see.
We will be playing through that amp.
Have you modded this amp by any?
This amp has been so. Okay, I'll speak a little bit about the amp.
Okay.
I did. Well, it's running through an aux box, but the aux box is great for this. But the amp has one modification, and well, I did change the speaker, but I mean we're not going to hear the speaker in this. But it has a switch to turn off the negative feedback loop. Sorry, it's got two modifications. I turn off the negative feedback loop because I think it just sounds better. It sounds a little more open, a little less constricted. It does raise the noise floor a little bit, but that's not a big deal. We'll go to the cool down here, but the other easy modification you can do with those amps is I made it so that the reverb is on both the normal and vibrato channels.
Oh yeah, that's a good mod.
But and that's simple, easy as pie, totally reversible with those. The 79, that's the 79. My deluxe reverb, vintage deluxe reverbs are. I have a 68 drip edge with the black lines. That is the same amp as the later black panel most desirable one. So it's really it's a black panel amp just with the drip edge. If they have those little lines, and I've already, in recapping, I have replacing the electrolytics. I can confirm it is the sort of coup de grace of the Deluxe Reverb. Then I have this 79, and I have a 1980, which is the black panel version. They went back to a black panel, and it's basically that amp. But with pedals, I prefer the 79 and the 80 because it's it is a little louder, clean. But all right, so we're going to do P90's in 2 guitars. Both these guitars are about 7.5 pounds and 7 pounds 6 ounces. The other 7 pounds 5 ounces. So they're very similar. They're both, one's a Les Paul Junior. The other is a Jack Briggs Les Paul Special version. His version of a Les Paul Special. Super nice guitar, by the way. If you're ever looking for a guitar of that, I'll put in. I think this is an Apollo of some sort. But anyway, the Junior has a 7.8K bridge. The ThroBak P90-DE 7.8K. We offer that in 7.8, 8.4, and 9K. So that's our lowest. Then 7.8, 7.6, that is a typical output for a 50s era Junior. The Special is 7.8K neck, 8.8K bridge. Both use Alnico 4 magnets, and we will play those. So we'll be back with that. Okay, I'm back. This is the Jack Briggs guitar here, and I'll switch the shot real quick, but we'll play the, I don't know, what's sort of the ThroBak theme song from our non-podcast episodes. Matthew and I will play that, and these are we'll start with hotter pickups.
See how wonderful that sounds?
Yeah.
You don't even have to try the other guitar.
It does sound pretty darn good. Okay, we'll pause it here for a second, and we will go to the Les Paul Junior with the 7.8K pickup. Again, this was 8.8K bridge, 7.8K neck. Essentially, these are the same pickups, just different resistances, because we're using the same magnets, winding machine, everything on these. Okay, we will be right back with Les Paul Junior. Also, too, let me give you one more good shot of the Jack Briggs guitar. This is such a nice guitar. It's got this, sort of like tapered or angled joint there. If you're looking for a Les Paul Special and you're lucky enough to get one of these, well worth it. I hadn't played it in a while, but here, I'll show the headstock there. See. I hadn't played it in a while, but boy, it is a great guitar. Okay, let me switch it, and we will be right back. Okay, so here's a Gibson Les Paul Junior. This is not a historic reissue, but it's one of the they sort of redesigned these during COVID, didn't they? And it's quite nice. I did replace a bridge to have it's actually got a vintage bridge on it, but it's got our a P90-DE 7.8K bridge pickup in it.
And then you replace the tuning pegs.
Yeah, I did replace the tuning pegs with Grovers, which does affect the sound a little bit. But and this is if you're looking for the Telly on steroid sound, it is more. This is you want a lower output P90 is my opinion, because that's what you get a little bit more articulation, a little less growl. But let's go ahead with same deal here, Matthew.
Okay.
Oh, let me. Let's discuss, Matthew. Well, What were your impressions there?
That one, the higher output has a little bit more bite.
It is more satisfying to play in this context, because if you like distorted tones, it easily coaxed out of it.
But my confession to make is that with my I've got the ThroBak SB set of P90's. Excuse me, and I find the neck pickup gets a little sort of unruly when you're playing it. It seems like a little less power might be nice, a little more clarity might be nice.
So my experience with this in a band, and this is just like bar band, blues band, is that when you get it in a band, right, in this context, like with just us two, volume's not an issue. It's in terms of hitting the headroom of the amp. The hotter P90 is a lot more satisfying to play, sort of, if what you want is a dirty tone. But if you get it in a band context with an amp that's not, I'd say 50 watts or more, honestly, you're going to start hitting the headroom of the amp in a way that if you want to try to get a little bit more out of the amp with pick attack, you're going to start noticing it. And you'll know, if you're used to humbuckers, that is one of the things you notice with a hotter P90 compared to a similar resistance PAF style pickup, is that there's a little bit more there that you can get dynamically out of a PAF that's hotter, of the same resistance you can out of a P90. If you lower the resistance to something like 7.8, 7.6K, so our 5254 set is 7.3K neck, 7.6K bridge. If you're playing it out live, that you do not have that same problem with, because you have some area between clean and dirty that in that area that you can take advantage of with pick dynamics. And if you use those same pick dynamics with under 50 watt amp with a hotter P90, those dynamics now become compression, has been my experience with it. And it sounds great, but you just don't have the same ability to kind of boost volume and attack with your pick when you're at that headroom limit. So if you're playing in a lower wattage amp, I think the lower resistance it really comes into play with a lower output P90. But I was trying to do what's interesting, they both do. They both do clean sounds very well. Like if I get the special there, I could play. This is the hotter, this is the lower wattage, but a nice crystalline cleans just from rolling the volume back. But you can still do it with the hot one. But I think from just playing, you desire that growlier sound out of it if you're playing in a band, and then I think you inevitably end up cranking the volume. Mm-hmm. I mean, is that your experience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like, it sounds good. Why wouldn't you use it? But if you really did ride your volume a lot, you could still get away with a lower wattage amp and a higher wattage or higher output P90. It's just when if you turn it up all the way, you're gonna reach the limits of that lower wattage amp. Okay, Matthew, let's put these guitars away.
Okay,
and we will go on to your musical musings. Okay, Matthew, we are going to go on to your musical musings. I have no idea what you've got in store for me, other than you wanted me to find a picture of Leo Fender.
So maybe put the picture up.
So we'll do that right now. Okay. Here's Leo Fender.
Here's Leo. So, if you notice something about when he was born, the anniversary of his birth is tomorrow, the 10th of August. So I thought we'd pay a little homage to.
Oh, I see, right there, 10 August 1909. Yes,
he was born in Anaheim, California. I just thought I'd go through a little things that maybe you know about them that I didn't know about them.
Mm.
So it's just a little remembrance of old Leo Fender. Did you know he lost an eye at the age of 8 years old?
I did not know that.
I didn't know it either, but he had a tumor in his eye. He lost it, had a glass eye for the remainder of his life. I didn't know that. And then he loved new cars. He would get a new car every year, and he loved cameras. He'd usually buy.
I did know he loved cameras.
And apparently he. Now I got this information from one of those NAMM interviews. They did an interview with Phyllis Fender, who was his second wife, who he married in the fall of 1980.
There's some other famous guitar-related entrepreneurs that like cameras too.
But Phyllis said if you looked at his pictures, he said he wasn't a good photographer. But he would. They went on a lot of cruises together, but he would like to take pictures of mechanical things, or he would take pictures. He liked, I think, how things worked, and he liked the mechanics of it. But he wasn't big into, say, composing photographs and things. But he would get apparently like 2 or 3 new cameras a year. So,
wow!
So he was. That was
he must. So he was collecting them, but as an appreciation of them as a sort of a mechanical precision object.
Yeah, I think that's.
Well, it makes sense in the sense that that's part of what he made. In the sense he had an appreciation for precision,
mm-hmm.
and that translated to ownership of that precision with guitars, the guitars he designed and made.
Yeah.
No, so in a weird way, it probably informed it.
No, absolutely. I think.
Yeah.
But apparently those were his diversions. But other than that, but he worked pretty well, sort of every day, and he saw his. He did play. I didn't realize this too, but they said he did play piano and saxophone. I think sort of middle school. But once I think an uncle introduced him to electronics and radios and things. Once he got into that by the age of 12 or 13, that was kind of took over what he was interested in. But he saw his role, what his sort of mission in life was to make instruments the best possible way for musicians. So his instruments, what kind of drove him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he could be, his wife Phyllis kind of like laughed about it, but I guess he could be kind of a taskmaster, but he couldn't understand why some people maybe weren't as interested in or didn't want to do this all the time. Because he never had kids with, he had an adoptive family with the second wife, but his first wife, they never had any kids, but he just worked all the time. That's what he was interested in.
Well, do you know can you name, there's the other notable guitar innovator, well, I guess guitar accessory innovators that had a love for photography, or who have a love for photography?
Oh, I think I might know this. Oh, is Paul Reed Smith one of them?
I don't know that he's one. Seymour Duncan is.
Okay, Seymour Duncan.
Seymour Duncan. I think he takes professional level photographs, and so does Larry DiMarzio. And in fact, I believe I was told that most of the photos on his website and the product photos are taken by him, artist photos as well.
Oh wow, this is interesting.
And there's also a very important reproduction pickup maker that has a background in professional photography.
Who would that be?
It's me, Jon Gundry. Except
But you didn't do weddings.
I did. No, I specifically avoided people because people complain, but a vacuum cleaner won't.
So tell folks.
I photographed Bissell vacuum cleaners.
From what years? So if they bought a Bissell,
I don't know.
If you saw a picture of a Bissell,
long time,
more than likely you took it.
Yeah, and I photographed I photographed. I was kind of like the guy in town to photograph interiors for architectural firms and designers, and photographed stuff for Kawasaki and other people that make stuff around here. But when it came to people in the photographs, I would do it, but I didn't make it my point to go looking for that. So
it'd be interesting to know. Like, I mean, I've always enjoyed photography, but I don't mind taking pictures of people, but it can be difficult.
Well, the reason I said that about him, about Leo Fender and the appreciation of cameras and photography, is that was part of the appeal for me in getting interested in it. Is that the gear? It has a similar gear element that guitars have. It has they're complex instruments, and to use them well, you have to actually master the mechanism. Mm-hmm. Sort of the same thing with guitar. And then there's an artistic element, not only of the result, which would be a photograph or music, but also there's an artistic element to the object that facilitates the music. And then on top of that, what you produce, you have ownership of what you produce from an artistic level. But if you can learn how to sort of master the object that allowed you to create the music or the photograph, now you sort of have ownership over the tools required to make it. And he literally took ownership of the guitar. That's maybe I'm too philosophical there, but no. I had a professor tell me that because I was like we had some art photography class, and I was manipulating the images, and she said she commented that part of why I was doing that was that I didn't probably realize it, but the ownership of every step of it was important to me. And I think that's kind of why I enjoy got into pickup making and that sort of thing. Anyway, so
the last thing I'll say about old Leo is that he worked really up to right to the end of his life. He died of Parkinson's, complications from Parkinson's. But and if you remember, I remembered folks to remember that the purple SB1 bass that I played earlier for the Rorschach Riffs segment, that was from 1991. So that was made, and I did check the dates when I first bought that. That was made, I think one of them is dated November, one's dated October 91. So that was made after he died. He died in March of 91. But that was, came right out of his factory that he'd owned at that time for almost 11 years. They started G&L in June of 1980. But Phyllis, his wife, said a couple of days before he died that he came home and said that his work was done, that he had done everything he could.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that was, his sort of way of sort of saying,
yeah,
it's over. But interesting person that, it's amazing to think the impact one person has had on, electric instruments and amplifiers and, inventing the bass guitar and electric bass guitar and solid body. But so I think we should all raise a toast on Sunday for Leo Fender.
Express our appreciation for all he has done.
Oh yeah,
by buying more stuff.
Yes.
That he was instrumental in, literally, and even forgive the pun. And being here.
Yeah, no, it is. It's sort of incredible.
Yeah, think about it too. The amp, the guitar, still standard. Like even when you think about the amp too, the amps are considered the standard even more broadly in a sense than the guitar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like if you were to pick one thing, you'd be very hard pressed to do. Like, what was the most important thing he did? Holy smokes!
Because the Fender amp's desirable for any electric guitar.
Yeah.
All right, Matthew, very well done on your musical musings. We will we will go on to the tools and tips. This may not be the most exciting tool or tip, but this is the sort of tool that falls into the category of being the right tool for the job. And as such, it makes it so that job is much more satisfying and just better executed. Okay, so the tool, I will try to get the camera to focus on it here, is a wire cutter, but these are a specific kind of wire cutter. These, these are perfect for like fine electronic work, like changing your pickups, or let's say you were doing something where you had to install capacitors. These have a very fine cutting edge and also very fine cutting tip, so you can work these into something like a control cavity of a guitar very easily. But if you use these to cut your guitar strings, you would ruin them. So that is the caveat with these. These are not terribly expensive, but there's a couple of brands that make a good version of this. This is this right here. I'm sure you can find this on Amazon. I will put it in the links. The link. It's made in Italy. It says CPH, Quality Hand Tools. And the model number is CPH, sorry, not CPH, CHP, CHP-170. And I will see if I can get this to focus here closer. And
it does not want to do that.
I can't. But
we'll put a link in the.
We'll put a link. But another good alternative to that is the Exolite 170M. But again, these are pretty roughly equivalent as far as how they cut and size and all. I think this one's maybe a little bit pointier and has a slightly larger cutting edge. And for work here at ThroBak, we can buy these at in sort of lots of 4 or 5 of them, and they last quite a while, but they don't last forever. But I think for your average guitar use, that would last you a lifetime potentially. And I'll show you the kind of thing that a person might use this for. So this is a piece of our braided cable. This is the shield on this is push back, right? Mm-hmm. But if there's kind of at some point you may reach a limit as to how much you want the shield to kind of bunch up, and you may want to trim it. So you can push it back with these, and you can work the cutting edge of this underneath the braid, and you can use that to strip away. Well, I have a hard time looking at it here. You can use that to strip away a larger portion of the braid. I really got to get that focus thing sorted out. It wants to focus on my face, but the point of it is fine enough that it's easy to do that with these. So that might be an application you would have for it, where a larger wire cutter is not gonna do it. That's my tool and tip for the day, Matthew.
Very good.
Should we? We'll go to the outro here. We have. Should we play the guitar more, or should we leave it at that? Should we do a musical outro? No. Yes.
Well, I think you have to. If you teased it, you have to do it now.
Let's just. I'll get the hotter. I'll get the hotter P90's back out here, and we'll just fade out on the ThroBak theme song.